So why is it, after 9 years, I'm still enjoying Team Fortress 2 just as much as when I first install it, but I get bored of Overwatch really easily, and I've only been playing it for maybe 3 years? Personally, I feel it comes down to exactly what type of game each one of them are. Let me elaborate on what I mean by that. Obviously, both games are team-based FPS games. Both games are very similar, even to the point we basically know Blizzard took inspiration from Team Fortress 2. Each game has similar game modes like Capture Point, Payload, and King of the Hill. Each game has taunts. Some taunts are even similar to each other. Some characters even play very similar. You have the Engineer in Torbjorn, the Spy in Sombra, and probably the most similar being Demoman and Junkrat. I could go on and on about each game and their similarities, how both games are character driven, how both games have a lot of lore, but right now I think I'll talk about the gameplay. Anyone who's played both games knows, even though they might be somewhat similar on paper, gameplay-wise, they are completely different. Overwatch has always tried to be a competitive esports game. There's even an Overwatch League. The game, by nature, is pretty competitive. Even in quick play, people are usually really competitive. Basically, this game isn't really a sit-down casual type game. It's meant to be easy to learn so everyone can play it. That's why there's no crazy things you can do like rocket jumping. But at the same time, I feel this does kind of limit it. With Team Fortress 2, the game's been out since 2007 and went free to play in 2011. The game has been doing pretty good since then, seeing the highest numbers it's ever seen in the last couple of updates. Team Fortress 2 is the perfect casual FPS game. Glitches and questionable hit reg aside, I honestly do think everything this game offers really does make one of the most fun casual experiences. What do you expect when going into most modern FPS games? You probably expect people to be doing the objective, maybe a few people on mic talking to each other, perhaps even angry. What about a bald fat guy offering you a sandwich, or an entire server of people dancing just because that's what they all felt like doing? This is one major factor in TF2 having that longer lasting appeal. Some people want to play a casual game and just have fun. With Overwatch, it's honestly really hard sometimes with the amount of anger and toxicity there is in the community. That's just the gameplay side of the two games. What about the characters though? I talked briefly about the characters in both games in my We Need Team Fortress 3 video a few months ago. But to sum it up, I basically said the characters from both games are widely different. I would like to go into more detail. I'm probably going to repeat myself a bit from my previous video, but the Overwatch characters are honestly just more of the same type of characters we've always seen over and over again. That's not necessarily a bad thing, and that's not me saying I dislike the characters, because I don't. I'm just saying I think it's a reason why people don't get invested in the characters as much as I think Blizzard would like. Whereas, if you look at the TF2 mercenaries, or any character in TF2 canon, they're incredibly unique. As I said in that previous video, unlike in Overwatch, where everyone is super nice to everyone, the TF2 mercenaries are all mean in a way. They're not the typical characters you usually see nowadays. Not to mention, the writing for them is hilarious in everything, from the comics to even just their voice lines. A good example can be heard in just this one voice line from Heavy.
Don't run! It's just him!
Where, yeah, Overwatch has voice lines, but not anywhere near like this. I think a more minor thing would be, as weird as it seems, the taunts and cosmetics. Yes, Overwatch has taunts, but I don't think they can compare to what TF2 has. Especially considering TF2 has taunts that can kill people, where Overwatch does not. If Overwatch added taunt kills into the game, then maybe we'll talk. As for the cosmetics, people used to always joke about the hats in TF2, but honestly, that really is what gives the game part of its charm. Without hats and other cosmetics, it kinda loses what makes TF2 what it is. Overwatch doesn't have anything other than the character skins, which is cool, but they don't compare to the hats and other cosmetics that TF2 has. I think the last thing I'll mention is the weapon variety. I think from the very release of Overwatch, people were mentioning the lack of weapon variety as a bad thing. But I never minded it. But considering TF2 has, and don't quote me on this because I didn't count, but at least 100 different weapons and a ton of ways to play any class, you can see how it can be hard to get bored. If you want to play a serious game of TF2 one day, then you can. And then one day you might just want to fly around with a jetpack and slap people, which is totally doable. My point being, I think TF2 has longer lasting appeal due to the greater variety and just better characters in general. While that doesn't mean Overwatch is a bad game, or even that TF2 is inherently a better game, it just means I feel TF2, or at least the Team Fortress IP, will still be around long after Overwatch is gone. Hey, thanks for watching this video. Feel free to tell me your opinions, whether you agree or disagree. I would really like to hear differing opinions to this. Whether you agree or disagree, and if you disagree, I'd like to know why. Why do you think Overwatch has longer lasting appeal to Team Fortress 2? Either way, if you enjoyed, hit that like button if you feel like it, and a subscribe is always appreciated. And until next time, I'll talk to you later. Bye!